Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the program. And on this episode, I'm going to be talking about something very serious. The possibility of alien parasites taking over your mind. It may not be as far-fetched as you think. It's The Brain Eaters from 1958. And this poster looks pretty cool. It's just too bad that this is probably the coolest thing about this movie. This movie had a budget of $26,000 and was filmed over the course of 6 days, so it should come as no surprise that it's not very good. In fact, this movie is only an hour long, and I was amazed at how a movie that short could still manage to be so boring. Believe it or not, Leonard Nimoy makes an appearance in this movie, even though it's only for 2 minutes, and it's pretty obvious that this was before he became famous for playing Spock, because they didn't even spell his name right. The movie starts late at night with this man walking around with what looks like a glowing fishbowl, but he drops it when he bumps into another man, and now that guy has gotta pay. Which may seem like an overreaction, but I've seen people get in a fight over a dropped fishbowl before. It was in New Orleans, and they were very upset. And I was there on vacation. I had never seen a fishbowl drink before, so you can imagine I was very confused. I was like, who's bringing their fish to the bar? So now we have Glenn and Elaine driving on the road when they suddenly see some kind of explosion. So they do what anyone would do, pull over and check it out. I guess they've been wandering around the forest for hours because it was daytime when they started, and now it appears to be night. After a while, they find a giant metal cone. So of course, the official UFO committee starts investigating this, and Senator Powers is like, all right, I'm going to that town to check out this so-called UFO. I mean, there must be a simple explanation for this. A giant metal cone? That could be a lot of things. Maybe it's part of a new housing development. I'm sure there are people out there who would love to live in a house like this. I mean, yeah, it would be very noisy, but it would also be very shiny, and people love shiny things. Maybe it's a piece of playground equipment. You know, some kind of futuristic corkscrew-style metal slide. I can see that. Would it get extremely hot in the summer and burn your skin off? Yeah. Would I still go on it? Yes. Then we find out that this guy, Glenn, is actually the mayor's son. Also, there have been 3 murders in town, and the mayor's gone missing. But for some reason, Glenn doesn't seem too worried about any of this stuff. He's just like, well, Dad's missing and probably murdered. I guess I gotta go cover his appointment at the airport. Senator Powers goes to the cone where he meets Chief Investigator Dr. Paul Kettering. And Paul is like, we don't know what this cone is made of, but it's indestructible. All we know is that there's a series of tunnels inside. And how does he know that? Well, Paul used a very scientific method to find that out. You may have noticed that after firing the gun, Paul keeps Dr. Weiler safe from any ricochet by getting him to step back by pointing his gun at him. Now, is this method a little unorthodox? Certainly. But is it stupid? Absolutely not. In fact, I would say it's genius. See, simply telling Dr. Weiler to step back would require Paul to take the time to actually say, step back. And then another fraction of a second for Dr. Weiler to register what he said and actually take action by stepping back. And by then, it might be too late. But just pointing the gun at him will make him step back immediately and protect him from any accidental tragedy.
I want action, not theories. I want to know what's on the inside of that ship.
So Paul is like, fine, I'm just going to crawl inside and find out once and for all. So Paul goes in there with a gun and a flashlight, and he's inside for a long time.
Dr. Weiler, it has been a long time. Could anything have gone wrong?
The answer is yes. A lot of things could have gone wrong. Like, what if you're just crawling around in there and suddenly the tunnel drops and you slide down head first all the way? Now there's no way to get out. I'm feeling claustrophobic just talking about this. Paul finally comes out and he's like, yeah, there's nothing in there. It's kind of boring, really. So what was he doing in there all this time? Probably just hanging out. Especially if the dude is getting paid by the hour to be on this special committee. Suddenly, there's a phone call telling them that the mayor is back. So they go pay him a visit, but he's acting kind of strange.
Where you been all this time, Mayor?
Sorry, Dad, but you don't look well.
I feel fine.
No, man, you're really sweaty. Trust me, guys, I'm a doctor, I know. People don't just sweat for no reason. Something's wrong with this guy. Mayor, what is that on your neck? Is that a hickey?
There's nothing on my neck.
Okay, yeah, I see what's going on here. I heard about this when I was a kid. He's got cooties.
Don't go near him.
Darn right. It's contagious. It's completely unpredictable. Mayor, why don't you just do us all a favor and put the gun down? Nobody needs to get hurt. And I'm sure you will be fine. To a degree. I mean, nobody really knows how you get rid of cooties. Not enough people have survived to tell the tale. But that doesn't mean that you won't. So the mayor runs out of his office and a cop guns him down. But the cop just arrived. He doesn't know what happened in the office. For all he knows, he just blew the mayor away for no reason. The mayor isn't yelling or pointing his gun at him, so why would he jump to the conclusion that the mayor is trying to kill people? Wouldn't it make more sense for him to think, oh no, the murderer who's still at large must have tried to just kill the mayor in his office? They find out that there was some kind of parasite on the mayor's neck that was controlling him. The sheriff decides to go to the cone, and on the way, he sees a body in the middle of the road. And even though there's been a number of still unsolved murders, and he just learned that there are parasites attaching themselves to people to control their minds, he decides, yeah, I should totally get really close to this guy. This isn't suspicious at all. Of course, it's a trap and he gets attacked, but it really seems like the sheriff's gonna come out on top. He gives the zombie a James T. Kirk double axe handle chop, but then the zombie's like, I'm too strong for that. How about I give you a double axe handle chop? And the sheriff goes down like a sack of potatoes. Because I don't know if any of you have ever been punched in the middle of your back before, but that's like instant unconsciousness, guaranteed. That's why so many MMA fighters use that move all the time. And now that he's unconscious, the zombies come over and presumably take a parasite from the glowing bowl and attach it to the sheriff's neck. They do this using another common low-budget filmmaking trick by hiding the action. See, everything happens behind the police car, so they don't actually have to show us anything. We have to do the work of imagining it for ourselves, which sucks. I mean, nobody wants to do that. It's exhausting. It's why I go to the movies in the first place. You know, like I'm paying you so that you show me. What was that? Hello? Oh, crap, it's another horde of mutant vampires. I knew this was gonna happen again. No, this time I got weapons. What's up, guys? You just gonna break into my apartment again? What do you think about this? Yeah, you like that? Well, there's more where that came from. What the hell? Where did you guys get space lasers? Hey, check out what I got for Christmas, guys. It's a whole box of grenades. I bet you guys didn't think I would pull the pin on a whole box of grenades in my own apartment. Well, you thought wrong. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go and get cleaned up. So they come to the conclusion that the cone is actually a fuel section of a much larger ship somewhere, and that the parasites can control minds.
These things take over a man's mind? He becomes a robot?
They call the sheriff to get him to round up his men and start the search for the rest of the ship, but the sheriff isn't picking up the phone. He's too busy trying to fight the urge, because his palms are hairy enough already.
Can't reach the sheriff. No matter. This calls for the state militia. I'll wire the governor.
I'd actually be kind of curious to hear the governor's reaction to that, because, I mean, he has no idea what's going on, and suddenly he gets a phone call from the senator telling him to bring in the state militia because there's alien parasites roaming around, and they need help trying to find another part of a spacecraft so that they can defeat the parasites somehow. Maybe Paul and Alice find a dead guy, and oh my god, it's a parasite. And if you're wondering why this looks like a piece of fur combined with some pipe cleaners, It's because that's exactly what it is. Yes, the producer of this movie was Ed Nelson, who also plays Paul, and he made these parasites by taking some pipe cleaners and pieces of an old fur coat and putting them on top of a wind-up toy. Glenn and Elaine find a cabin, and Glenn acts suspicious, as if, what? This could be the other part of the spaceship? Or that the other part of the spaceship could be inside somehow? Seriously, why the hell are you even going in there? Suddenly, the door closes, and now they're in big trouble.
It's locked from the outside.
And now with the door locked, Glenn gets so distracted by the hissing of the parasites that it seems like he's put into some sort of trance because he doesn't even notice that someone is trying to burn down the cabin. The smoke is just pouring in, so Glenn uses a chair to smash the window, even though this cabin doesn't seem to be that solid. I mean, look, you can see right through the wall. That's how all that smoke is getting in. I bet you could break it down just by kicking it a few times. A guy pokes his head out, and I don't understand this. How is this guy not dead after being shot twice in the face? Did Glenn somehow miss this guy? From this close. These are the people who are supposed to stop an alien invasion. The fate of humanity rests with them, good God. They all meet up at the mayor's office and decide to go through his file cabinet because that's always fun. Maybe he's got some booze in there. They find some jars inside and they're like, this is what he was using to transport the parasites. And I take issue with that. You don't know for sure what he was using those jars for. Maybe he kept his weed in there. Or maybe he was such a hard-working mayor that he couldn't leave his desk even for washroom breaks. Yeah, I know that sounds pretty gross, but that is one dedicated public servant. I'd vote for that guy. At one point, they go back to the cone and find this old guy on the ground, and he explains that he was part of an expedition 5 years ago, and that the parasites are 200 million years old. Anyways, they try to send a telegraph, but the telegrapher never sends it, because he's one of the zombies too. So they go over there to find out what's going on, and make some unfavorable comments about his visor. So that starts a fight, as it should. They go back to the stupid cone again, because why not? And Paul asks the two deputies who have been standing guard if anyone has gone up to the hatch at the top, and they're like, nope, no one. So Paul climbs up to check on his recording equipment, and this is when he sees the deputies climbing up there too. Oh my God, that means they're possessed by the parasites for some reason. So now there's a big shootout, which really isn't that dangerous, since apparently nobody in this movie can hit anything unless it's at point blank range. Finally, it ends with Paul killing the two deputies.
What is it? What happened? What did you kill him for?
Well, it might have something to do with the fact that they were shooting at us, but I'm not exactly sure. I'm sorry, Glenn, where have you been? Because I could have swore I saw you standing there with your gun drawn, so it's not like you didn't understand the situation. So Paul is like, all right, let's reload, because Glenn and I are going inside that cone right now. And Glenn's like, oh, so I'm just being volunteered for this. Inside, they find a man named Professor Cole, who was part of that expedition from 5 years ago, and has apparently been using this cone as his own personal hotbox ever since. And he's like, look guys, the parasites are actually good. They come from inside the earth, and they're going to free mankind from a life of turmoil. And I mean, he's not exactly wrong, because if they wipe out all of mankind, then yeah, mankind will be free from turmoil, along with everything else. So they get out of there and use an electrical cable and a harpoon gun to send a current into the cone, which kills everything. I bet you're probably wondering, okay, that's great and all, but if the cone wasn't an alien spaceship, then what was it? Well, since the parasites came from inside the Earth, the cone was their vehicle that they used to drill up to the surface. How did they make the cone? No idea. And now that I'm thinking about it, it's pretty ridiculous. But then again, a lot of the movie was pretty ridiculous, so it tracks. Also, there are several points in this movie where they commit the common B-movie sin of cutting back and forth between day and night shots. Like at the beginning of the movie, when Glenn and Elaine leave their car to explore the woods, it's daytime. And then it's the middle of the night. When the guys are up at the top of the cone, it's clearly daytime. But down on the ground, it's nighttime. And this is the tricky thing with trying to light scenes in the woods at night. If you don't do it right, you can leave the audience wondering just where the hell all this light is coming from if this is supposed to be taking place during the middle of the night. Quite honestly, I really wasn't expecting that much from this movie going in, and I still left disappointed. Because for a movie called The Brain Eaters, you'd expect at some point somebody's brain to get eaten, but it doesn't really happen. I want to thank all of my supporters on Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon, and YouTube. I want to thank all of you for tuning in once again, but that's pretty much it for this one, and I'll see you all next time.
I'm not sure you're welcome in this town anymore, Dr. Kettering.
Oh, here we go. You just had to bring it up, didn't you? Even though it happened 5 years ago, and it totally wasn't my fault. It was a wardrobe malfunction. And yes, I realize it's unfortunate that it happened during the Thanksgiving Day parade, but what was I supposed to do? Of course I kept waving. I was on the float. Everybody had already seen it by then anyways. I'm sorry. I thought we moved past this, but I guess not. Just let it go. The judge did. And that's the weird inconsistency with these things. You know, they make a super loud hissing noise, but only sometimes. And they pulsate underneath people's clothes, but only sometimes. So, if they have the option of not hissing and pulsating, why not just do that all the time? Then we couldn't see or hear them at all and not know who's a zombie and who's not. We don't know what this cone is made of, but it's indestructible. And why are you trying to destroy it? You don't know what's inside. Could be filled with nice aliens or puppies. Is that what you want? Do you want to kill puppies? I like how he's just like, yeah, Glenn and I are both going in there. I mean, you can volunteer me for a lot of things, but something like that, yeah, no, you can go f*** yourself.